open, the light is near. Bring your question, leave your fear. With angel spirit signs and soul, the unseen world begins to glow. Loved ones, guides, and truth come through. Tonight the message may be for you. Ask the angel. Open your heart tonight. Ask the angel. Step into the light. Now welcoming Rachel Corpus, angel incarnate and psychic medium. This is Ask the Angel.
Hello, my loves. Welcome to the show. If you're watching this on Monday, I hope this day has brought you some joy and you've been able to get through the day to the best of your ability. And I'm really excited to be with you today because, I've been doing this for a while, but having a new show takes a while to just get into the groove, to feel good in one's skin. And we're just kind of getting there together, aren't we? I'm really excited about this week's show because the person that I have as our guest, I just really like him. I enjoy his show. I enjoy his temperament. I enjoy his grace. He's just a nice person. He's just one of those people that you're like, I want to be his friend. He's one of those people. I want to start with a question from one of our viewers. This viewer joins us from YouTube. By the way, have you found me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of the things? And when you do, would you be so nice to do all of the subscribe and follow and all that good stuff? Because it helps all of us creators. This is how we support ourselves and our families and do the work that we are meant to do. So thank you in advance for doing all those clickety-click things. Thanks, love you. So this week's question is from Greg. Hi, Greg, from Ann Arbor, Michigan. This is Greg's question. Hey, Rachel, I'm pretty new to all this stuff. I think Greg's talking about maybe spirituality, I'm assuming. He says, I just heard your show for the first time last week. Okay, well, this is one of the new shows. Greg and everybody, my other show, Angel Talk, season 3 starts September 6th. Go to my website. When I went online to find more of your content, I heard someone ask you about base reality. Oh, let's nerd out, shall we, Greg? Okay, Greg says, can you talk more about that on your show? Yeah, I'm not convinced my life as I experience it is my actual base reality. But how would I know? Listen, Greg, I don't know either. I can't tell you that I'm not an expert. I'm just living my life and I'm figuring things out as we go. But what I can do for you is pull in someone that is also asking these questions and is moving from when I was a pastor, I learned the difference between disciple and apostle. I'm not a religious gal, okay? But disciple is a learner, apostle is a teacher. And there comes a point where we get to go from one to the other. This person that I have has the heart of a student and is moving into his teacher realm, but will always continue learning. And that's one of the things I really like about him. And let's just back up a scoot. Here's how I met him. I gave an interview on one show, and I was talking about that NDE that we've talked about on this show, where I was taken out of my body and I was in a different reality. Okay. It's the pod story. And I think the host of that show might have asked me the base reality question. And I said quickly without thinking, yeah, that is base reality. Because it was just like in the fiber of me. Yes, base reality. Well, my guest today, Huzefa. Oh, shit. I'll have to ask him. I get nervous about names. Kapadia. He then reached out to me to see if I would come on his show because he had also been talking about that. So he had already kind of heard my story. And then I had a visit with him on his show. So he's on the show today because he's going to help us pull this apart. Okay. You get to go visit his show after this because he has his own channel. He has his own podcast, so he interviews people. He's also got his own significant show where he has his own, you just get to sit with him and hear what's in his mind. I believe he's channeling, honestly. I do. That's my humble opinion. It's good stuff. May I just read to you as I'm your first grade teacher, and will you just hear a little bit about him? Just be cool and calm in your body. Let me read you some stuff. Huzaifa Kapadia is an educator, entrepreneur, attorney, and a digital creator, best known as the founder of Scalar Learning, a Los Angeles-based tutoring and educational content company devoted to making mathematics engaging. Somebody's got to do it. Accessible and understandable. Before entering education, Huzaifa worked as a software developer. My face did something funny. Attended Northwestern University School of Law and practiced as a patent attorney at international law firms. Today, he shares mathematics instruction, standardized test prep, and problem-solving strategies with more than 119,000 subscribers through the Scalar Learning YouTube channel. Huzaifa is also creator and host of Pink Tourmaline, a rapidly growing YouTube channel with more than 5,000 subscribers that explores some of humanity's most profound questions, like why are we here? What is the purpose of life? What happens after death? Through personal reflections, investigative commentary, book analysis, and conversations with prominent voices, including Isabella Green, that was pretty recently, I think, Tony Sawyers, and I was on that show, and researchers and practitioners in remote viewing and consciousness studies. Huzaifa brings intellectual curiosity, openness, and thoughtful discernment to the exploration of life's greatest mysteries. And here's what he did for me. Hold on to your parts for a minute. He's the person that was brave enough to ask me, in his own words, are you sure you had that near-death experience? Because it could have been just in your mind. True. Isn't that true? Because he was asking me in that NDE, are you sure it happened, or could there have been some manipulation? He's not wrong. How do we know that what we're experiencing is true and offered to us with fidelity? How do I know? I mean, I think it's true. I think me as an angel is true, but don't you hear it and you're like, is that girl okay? He's the first one in an interview that was brave enough to ask me, do you really think that all that happened, or do you think there was some interference? Brilliant. Brilliant. So let's bring him in. Welcome, my friend.
All right. What's up? What's
Hi.
up? Thank you
Glad
for
to
that.
have you here.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for that introduction. I think one thing I wanted to say right out, two things actually really quickly. You mentioned the disciple and the apostle distinction, and me as an educator myself, but just as a human, I just started pickleball recently. I hope to always stay in the student mindset, because I think there is effectively for all of us essentially an infinite amount to learn. So I will always maintain that student mindset, even as I go through material and try and relay it and explain it to people along the ways. And I also do want to say one thing as well, really quickly. You mentioned that I maybe said, did this really happen, or do you think it was in your mind? Really, it wasn't that I actually thought it was in your mind, but it was more the interference question. That's the pertinent thing, because I think you and other people like yourself that have had NDEs or these types of experiences, whether it's remote viewing or different things, out of body experiences. I think people can, even though I haven't had one yet, hope to have one soon. But an OBE is what I mean, not an NDE. But even though I haven't had one yet, I'm pretty sure I feel confident. I feel confident in the fact that I can trust people to decipher between a dream and an NDE, or a dream and an OBE. You're so convinced. So I'm sure there's a distinction. I 100% believe that. But the pertinent, I think, question that we all have to ask is, when we're having these experiences, and this is a question that I've been diving into a ton lately, could there be external manipulation? And that's the question that really hit me in the face about 4 or 5 months ago, and that I've been grappling with.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that. I didn't feel that you were questioning my person. I didn't feel that you were questioning my character in any way.
Mm.
I feel that that's so healthy that we keep questioning
Yes.
because, um, in my own personal timeline in my life, there were years that it just didn't feel safe to ask questions at church. Or who do you ask? Because you love the authority figures, and if you ask them questions, will they take it personally? And then there are forgotten timelines that we still feel in a real way, but we don't remember them, where we just are not allowed to question authority. Just eat the story, that's what it is. But really, to grow, we get to question. And it doesn't mean we have to know the answer, but just having the question and wondering is great. So then if we are getting manipulation, that's the first way into getting out of it and discovering, oh, I want my power back. I do not consent to that manipulation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's fundamentally one of the biggest issues with organized religion, or even just a quote unquote belief system. We have William Bowman saying famously in a speech, or at least famously to me, all beliefs are flawed. And that's not to say that you can't be right about something per se, but I think he's making a greater commentary is that in that everything we're coming to believe or understand, it's through imperfect sensory systems. So I think I just love that mindset of being open to always being corrected, because even as intelligent as we think we may be, or as clearly as we might think we're seeing or discerning, there's always room for error. And then the other thing I always like to think about when I talk about religion, I personally was raised in the Islamic faith. The inherent problem, and there could be some exceptions to this outside of mainstream religion that I'm unaware of, but the inherent issue is religions by definition are closed systems, meaning they're meant to answer all of the questions out there in one specific text or one specific pre-existing set of beliefs. And that to me is inherently flawed, because when you have these separate systems that are isolated from each other and that clearly have issues or contradictions or incomplete stories, but by definition, they're not allowed to commingle. They're not allowed to say, wait a minute, I think you got it right here, but I got it right there. And then let's merge these together. And because of that definition, it just leaves people stuck in the mud and leaves people confused and without the truth, in my opinion. So that's why I think it can be very dangerous to stick to one of these faith systems, and then it just stops you from questioning and digging deeper, when we should all be trying to universally come to the truth.
Yeah, because where do those questions live? They live in between the silos.
Mhm.
Right? So you have the information that's been told to you, and whenever you have a question, you leave that building or that belief system, and then you're in the mud. And if there's nothing offered there, you really are just stuck there.
Yep.
And really, that's a wonderful place to be if you have other people there and you know that it's part of the process. But if it's not a safe place, or if you're not told, hey, this can be part of the process, you don't have to be here forever. If you're not told that, well, then it feels like abandonment, and there's then religious trauma. So speaking of base reality,
Mhm.
because I feel like what we're talking about, some of that manipulation or having our power taken from us, that is part of it. But before we get into all that, may I ask you,
Mhm.
could you describe for us your definition of base reality? What does it mean to you?
Sure. And let me caveat this by saying that it's an ever evolving definition, because I just had an interview with a guy who's had tons of OBEs from Insights with Tony that again shifted my perspective a little bit. So I'll put it like this: from hearing your story, from hearing Intuitive Underground's remote viewing of base reality, it's effectively this. If you've seen the movie Avatar, when they go into that machine and then he projects his consciousness into another avatar, that's effectively the way to think about base reality. It's another reality, an Earth-like place, in original Earth or an original planet, where we have bodies just like this, and then we've taken our consciousness for whatever reason. there's multiple theories, but we don't know 100% sure why. But they then go into some types of containers, and then they project their consciousness into this reality and into these bodies. So it's a place where maybe you could say the majority or our original consciousness was initially housed, and then for whatever reason we decided to step into this sort of almost like a virtual reality system, and that's what this planet is.
You think it's possible that our idea of lifetime after lifetime, the past lifetime idea, do you think it's possible that actually it's not a one after the other, or even a past thing at all, but it's exactly like you say, that there's a version of that's in a physical based reality, and we can consciously project into several versions of us at once, and we might have misrepresented or misinterpreted that as, oh, I was here at one point, period, then I went into this file, or this version of me did that, period, then it got categorized filed into the library. So do you think it's possible that base reality is more like an accordion-like structure, the multiverse structure, and we misinterpreted it as the past life idea?
I can say this, again, not an expert on this, but I've definitely heard two characterizations. For example, one is past lives, the other one is parallel lives. So I think what you're referring to is maybe reframing that as parallel lives, separate, but not necessarily one before the other. I can tell you this, I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I think there's definitely merit to it, but it does hurt my brain when I think about it. And I think that's because we're so accustomed to things happening in a linear fashion when on this planet and in this realm. All of that to say, though, just because it breaks my brain a little bit, I don't think that it means it's not a logical take. I just think that it's hard for me, at least as a person, to make sense of it. Nevertheless, I've heard it so many times that I think there has to be some merit to this idea. And maybe they kind of both mean the same thing. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of how we decode it.
Yes, and the fact that in our quote unquote past lifetimes, we were in a different avatar. And our parallels, it looks like we look like this body, but there's some significant changes, like this version of me has children, that version of me does not. This version of me is spiritual, that version is religious, so that I can experience another version of reality. And also that version of reality has its own rules. Maybe and I don't know what those would be, but gravity might be different, or there might be different amount of hours in the day or something. I've noticed that. And I only bring it up because I notice it on my end when people are asking more questions about parallel lives and other versions of themselves. And when it first started to come up, it came up as entertainment, like, hey, could that be possible? Like when Spider-Man and the multiverse came out. I don't remember what that movie was, but I love it. It was the animated one that came out a few years ago.
I remember, yeah.
So people were like, could that be possible? And it went from that, just a little sprinkling of talking about it, to now so many people bring it up as, okay, yeah, Thomas says Across the Spider-Verse. Yeah, great film. Now people are asking about, could this really be true? And how could I access those other timelines to help this one, or vice versa?
Yeah, that's such an interesting question. I wonder that myself. You know what's a fascinating idea as well. I had this thought, and then I've heard somebody repeat it or say it as well. So that made me think, okay, maybe I'm onto something. But if our minds and our consciousness, or let's say even our brains within this construct, are part of the construct, are part of the matrix, or whatever you want to call it, of this reality, it would make sense, therefore, I think it would make sense that if we can think something, it's theoretically possible, as wild as that may seem, because how else could we be constructing this in our mind if it's completely impossible? So my point in saying that is, if we are imagining this idea of parallel lives or these different dimensions intermingling with each other, certainly I think it's at least within the realm of possibility. Whether or not that is how reality is constructed, I don't know. But I think simply by the fact that we can imagine something, I think we should give our imagination a lot more credibility than we currently do. Oh, but I want to ask you
I
something.
agree.
You know what I mean? And I want to
Yeah.
ask you something, by the way, because I wanted to go bring something up to you that was mentioned in my interview when I interviewed Insights with Tony from Insights with Tony, because we talked about base reality as well. So, you asked me to explain my understanding of base reality, and a lot of that was informed by my intuitive underground interview as well as my discussion with you. But I want to get your take on this idea. So in the name of asking questions, I asked Tony, well, what are your thoughts on this idea of base reality? He had an interesting theory, and I want to get your thoughts. He thinks that this idea of base reality, the rooms that you saw and that intuitive underground also saw, they saw the same thing that you described, a building with massive rows and columns of bodies in containers projecting their reality in. He has a theory that this was a construct created within that astral, within the matrix, as a simulation of a base reality. Now, I know that's like, it makes your head explode when you think about it, because it's like, wait a minute.
Well, then how does it end?
So what he's saying is that is another distraction or another way to keep us thinking that, oh, we just return to base reality and then we stay stuck in the matrix, as opposed to recognizing, no, that's just another place in the astral. And then what he thinks is the way it ends is just by refusing to buy into effectively like anything that's being given to us, or any
Offered
sort of
to you.
Yes. So I just want to know what are your thoughts on this idea?
Well, it makes sense
Mm-hmm.
because what I can connect it to is when I'm helping people with the crossing over journey,
Mhm.
what has become very apparent in this last year is that not walking into the light is a really big deal.
Yeah, I've heard that too over and over.
Right? Like that's
Yeah.
the new thing. Like, okay, that's a new thing. And it was totally marketed as the thing to do. But when you walk in the light, it's the reincarnation trap.
Mhm.
So I'm hearing the guides say that when you leave your physical body and you're crossing over, gosh, where were they going with that? You're crossing over. Oh, it's that the point of that journey is that whatever is shown to you, you're supposed to say, I have everything I need with me already. I am source inside. So, they're going to show you beautiful things, your angels, your family, and it's the archons who are doing that in order to have you get back into the reincarnation trap, if one believes something like that. Okay.
Okay.
So the whole point is going back into a separation game where you're separate from source. So if that could be possible, then think about the situation about the pods that you're talking about. Isn't that again a separation? Where if you need to go into a place where your body is being stored in a healthy place, if you
Mhm.
need anything like that,
Mhm.
anytime you need something that's outside of you, that feels like it could be a lie. Because if source is telling us, and so when I had my first NDE at 4 years old, what's significant about that is they said, everything you need, everything everybody needs is already within them. There's nothing outside of them that they'll need. Not a word, not a token, nothing. And the point of Earth is to remember that. And they actually said to me, Earth is not a classroom. Earth is not an internship. It's not. That got misunderstood. Source so excited to grow that the first beings that came from source, they begged and begged, can we embody a physical body so we could feel what it's like to be physical? So all of us here, we're here having experiences to be physical, which are on the spectrum, of course, right? High and low and neutral. But somewhere along the line, we changed the narrative, or we changed the marketing and started calling it like and I did this for years. Oh, Earth is a classroom, Earth is a classroom. But when we did that, we started the separation game too, because what's a classroom? grading. Well, I'm not good enough. I didn't learn enough. But if we go back to the original coding, the original agreement, we're here to embody, we're source embodied, but as we're in a body, we get to taste the strawberry. We get to feel the cut on our foot because it's all helping each other, source, feel what it's like to feel source embodied with skin on. But it's different than the classroom idea. You didn't learn enough, come back.
Yeah.
That's
And
separation. So to get back to your question, I think that's very possible. I think any construct we're given where you have to do something or your body has to be someplace to be kept alive or whole or young, I mean, I question that. Honestly, I do.
there was another interview that I did recently with Isabella Green, and I wonder this too. So because you mentioned this idea of coming here, or maybe coming into reality, it may not even be in this realm. Maybe this realm has been commandeered or something like that. But in general, this idea to there's this general curiosity about what is it like to have a physical incarnation, or maybe there are things that we can learn in a way from that. But then I noticed too, there's other pre-birth memories, Isabella Green included, that give different reasons or memories as to why they came. For example, I don't know if you've heard of these before. This is just food for thought. And again, this is specific to Earth. I don't know if there's other physical planes that don't have all the negativities and things like that that we have here. I imagine there are ones that are devoid of that. But she remembers hearing a distress signal from Earth and wanted to come in and help. And then she says now she's kind of been stuck here ever since. There was another pre-birth. Yeah, there was another pre-birth memory of somebody saying that they were in what you could maybe describe as the pleroma, the realm where all the spiritual entities were out and about and doing their thing. And they met an entity that just looked shining and shimmering with this amazing aura. And he said, how did you get that way? And he said, oh, I had to incarnate on Earth multiple times. And that's how I got this luminescence. And he said, oh my gosh, I want to be like that. And then he said he got kind of swindled into coming here. Yeah. And then there was a third one. So all like different mechanisms, but they all ended up here for different reasons, persuaded to come. And then the last one was a little bit different, but he said he was approached on the outside by 3 hooded figures, which a lot of people describe something like that in NDEs. And they told him that it was that he needed to
Archons.
come. Yeah, exactly. And he felt like he needed to come and got kind of persuaded and then just got sucked in and has been here since. So just interesting that I think going back to your point of saying one of the reasons why we incarnate is to have this curiosity, this itch of curiosity scratched. I wonder if that is the general theme of incarnation in general. But however, in this realm, maybe which has been commandeered or maybe which was always negative, I don't know, that gets maybe used against us.
Yes, it's gotten out of balance. It's gotten the lower stuff's gotten perpetuated and honestly turned into a business model for a reptilian population. And I think we can safely call it the world order, even though doesn't describe it accurately anymore. But there is a population that's in shadow. We can call it the shadow.
Sure. Yeah.
Shadow power. And when it became obvious that we had two ways of creating energy that worked for them, either our louche energy that either came from ecstasy or fear, and the fear was more delicious and more useful. They started to propagate ways to get that from us. So as soon as they can get us back in using our ego, oh, well, come back, you can be rich this time. Oh, you can glow like this. But as soon as we get back, we're chasing that. We're automatically chasing fame or peace. And then as soon as we get it, there's something in there about, well, now you have to chase it. Or if you don't get it, we're going to hurt this person or that person. And so there's all these things in there because the lower frequency, it's instead of it being the regular spectrum of having Earth so we could come here and experience the spectrum, it's now so out of balance because honestly, it's a business model. And that is one of the things that we get to correct. People are calling it enlightenment, awakening. Okay, fine. We can call it whatever we want, but really what we're doing is we're going in as business consultants and we're saying we don't want that anymore. It's wearing us out. And things like the CERN Hadron Collider, I never say it the right way, but that thing closing down for 4 years, it gives us clarity enough to just feel like, oh, something feels different. I can navigate this now.
I don't know. I mean, I know what CERN is. I've heard people talk about it in relation to the big picture, but I don't know a crazy amount from it. I know that there are stories of it opening different dimensional portals and things like that, but I haven't dove in too much to research all the specific stories, just FYI. But
well, I don't know much about it either, except I know that they're studying reality, which is a wonderful thing. As they do that, reality has a lot to show us that we don't understand. So they're opening up a lot of portals. They're messing with reality in ways that, as we discover, some things are irreversible. And they're doing a lot of work with the electromagnetic field, and it affects us a lot. So that with 6G coming, we have a lot of heavy metals in our bodies. And with those, in 4 years, the collider will be turned back on and bigger. So honestly, we've got this time where we can really remap our lives. We can get our bodies healthy. And it's prime time to rewrite some things according to what the angels say. But yeah, so if this is, I don't think Earth is base reality. I really don't. However, I feel like we're really good at creating things here. So whether or not it's base reality or not, some people seem to be better at creating their own reality or their own matrix than other people. And I wonder if that's going to get easier for people in the next year, 2 years, that they'll actually find ways to do that, like to work with their coding. What do you think about that? Do you think that's possible, that people can actually start changing their lives in real time?
Again, let me caveat everything that I say with, this is just where I'm at right now. I'm still will always be a student, but I'm a massive student right now and still really learning. Fixing our lives and, let's say, fixing the planet or getting it to our, let's say, kind of like a paradise or a utopia. I'm starting to wonder if that is a goal. How you see in the horse races, they put the carrot in front of the horse and the horse keeps trying to get it, but it can never really get it. I'm starting to think that it might not be possible, at least the way that the Earth and maybe this universe or construct is structured as of now. Let me give you some context, explain why. One thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is the food chain, for example, but not just the food chain. There's much more to it than that. But if you just simply look at the way this nature is structured and the food chain is designed in a way that we have to consume and destroy, whether you're a vegetarian or a meat eater, you're destroying on a daily basis in order to survive. So in the span of 10 years, how many plants, how many animals, how many things are you destroying and consuming? So when I think about if our aim or objective, let's say, like I've had this thought before too, I want to save the world, I want to fix the planet, I want to stop this or that or the other, I want to stop war, I want to stop this infighting within political systems. But then if you think, I wonder if that's a fool's errand, because no matter which as corrupt as the planet is and as perverse as it is in so many ways, even if we fix, let's say, a lot of the lying and corruption in politics, if we fixed a lot of the bad practices and the deceptive marketing tactics that corporations employ all the time, I think we're still stuck in this realm where even at its purest, and it's not just us, it's all animals. Bugs eat bugs, lions eat zebras. We're just in this constant consumption cycle that is inherently painful. And I think whether you're getting consumed or whether you're consuming, it's harmful to us on some base level. So all of this to say, I'm not sure that we can move towards anything in this realm that is kind of like a utopia type thing, unless a lot of these underpinnings are removed or changed or modified. How that happens, I don't know. But maybe if we have some sort of a complete reformation of the way that things work, then I think we could come to a utopia, but it have to be such a drastic change. You know what I'm saying? Where maybe we get rid of this prey predator system, if that's even possible. I think that's what it would require at a foundation to really have a utopia of sorts.
Well, I know the extraterrestrials are horrified that we eat each other, that we eat our friends. That surprises them. But here's the question I posed to you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that we're not working toward a utopia?
It is possible that perhaps we're not but it's like maybe if we
know what
really
we're working toward.
What's that?
I wonder if we don't really know what we're working toward. When is the last time we met as a collective where we're just like, okay, how do we define this for ourselves and each other?
We definitely don't know what we're working towards. And I think that's probably by design. But if you think about the core foundational economic belief, which is a free market system where effectively it's your selfishly driven needs and desires are what's meant to fuel the entire system. And of course, we have this theory that that's the most beneficial way for an economy to operate. And look, yeah, I was an economics major. I'm not an economist by any means, but I don't care what the economists say. If you just think about the way that is at a philosophical level, yeah, that right there destroys this idea of us trying to be collaborative and really think about what are we moving towards. We don't. Nobody does. In fact, if you ask people, what is all of this about? What are we going towards? They'll be like, why would you ask that question? And you can't answer it. So they'll look at you like you're crazy. And then they just plot along on these individual, which I do too. I'm not saying I'm above all this. Like I have my goals and objectives, but like we just march towards the specific goal until we find ourselves at the end of our lives and say, well, that's a well-lived life. Yeah, you're still in your silo because we're not sitting down together and being like we're trying to do right now. What is the bigger picture? Not just for me, for us as a collective. But yeah, that's kind of fortunately maybe for the powers that be, but unfortunately for us, we don't sit down and think, where are we going together? Where should we be going?
Yeah, and I don't think we have even the way to do that anymore. We've lost the process to even sit down and talk to each other. Not everybody, but with COVID happening and separating people, and then the mistrust of, not knowing what's true with AI, not knowing what's true in politics, and just building mistrust. There's some healing that gets to happen in the next, couple of years that I hope happens, because there's going to be some time where we just got to look at each other and say, okay, how do we define peace? How do we define success? How do we define these things for us together as a collective? Because, we are defining it by default. These things are happening by default, but when we don't do them actively, that's when something can come in and guide for us.
Yeah.
Right. That's when we lose our autonomy.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead, love.
I was just going to say, and I think an important part to this whole equation, this is something that I've been exploring a lot on my channel. And something I've been thinking about is, you mentioned all the lies and the deception. It's in politics. Like we all know that. And we all see that front and center in just the way that is structured, but it's everywhere. Any advertisement you turn on TV, it's full of lies. And the fact that there's so many blatant lies, it's really crazy when you step back and think about it. But how do we cut through the lies? How do we get through it? And this is something that I actually literally just made a video talking about this tangentially today, is the power that we have for us, at least for those of us that are the majority of us, I believe, that are trying to seek the truth, is no matter how well a lie is constructed or fabricated or created, there's always going to be holes. There's always going to be, it's never going to meet in a full circle and be totally complete. We're always going to be able to pick it apart and break it down, so that we have that as an advantage. But the thing that can help us get through all of the nonsense and get to the truth is discernment. And discernment, I think, is more important than intelligence and anything that I can even think of. I feel like discernment is something that we need to focus on. And I think right now, my current theory is there's a couple of different laws, law of resonance. There's another name for it that I'm blanking on right now, but there's like 4 different things that I've taken from different time periods that all go to the same idea, which is your discernment is strengthened by you yourself. Hadi McCoskey talks about this as well. Your discernment, your ability to decipher between lies and truth is all strengthened by you yourself trying your absolute best on a daily basis to be honest with other people, and which is, we all talk about that, but even honest with yourself and just honest in general. And the more I think that we can do that, it's almost like a vibrational alignment that then allows us to see clearly. But I think the more we're deceptive, the more we get a fog or a haze in front of us, and that, disables our discernment.
Easy. Yeah, it becomes easy. I started lying when my kids were little. I'm not a liar, but when my kids were little, it became really like it would roll off the tongue. Like if they wanted to go to ice cream and it was inconvenient or we didn't have the money, I would say, oh, they're closed. Right. And there was no reason for that. But I'm sure I did it because there was shame if we didn't have the money, or I didn't want to hurt their feelings, but it wasn't right. And then it became easy. And you know what? My kids are senior in high school, going to college now, and they remember that. And one of my kids, one of my children, when he's asking me to watch a movie with him or something, and I say, I can't right now, but I can tomorrow. Sometimes he'll say, are you sure? Are you lying? Ouch.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to rebuild. And it's so easy to break that trust, and then it takes such work to rebuild. And I feel that culturally, collectively, we have a lot of that to do for each other, because that stuff just rolls off the tongue so easily. It's so convenient.
It's so true. There was another interview that I was watching that talked about the same idea, that it's just become, and I don't think this means that we are bad people. I think we are, again, a victim of this mindset that has been pushed upon us, where everything else is being deceptive. So it feels, in the grand scheme of things, like what you're describing is so minuscule, but I think it messes up something with
it's a big deal.
Yeah. And I have another thought on this. Okay. And what you're describing, I seen, and my parents are great people, phenomenal people, but I've seen them do this. I mean, I'm sure they did this. I can't remember it so well when I was a kid, but I see them doing it with my little niece and nephew. Just be like, oh, we'll go tomorrow. And they'll be like, but we won't, they'll forget about it. It's like, wait a minute, it means something. But I figured out, I have another idea on how you can help yourself, because look, we all have moments where we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, or we want to, like you said, you want to avoid maybe feeling a certain way. So you just say something quickly to slide it by. Another way around this too, I was thinking about it as, and this might seem like common sense to you guys, so maybe you won't think this is such a big revelation, but just in your daily life, and I'm not perfect here, I'm not saying this is what you have to do and you're terrible if you don't. I'm trying to do this to my best of my ability as well. But in your little micro decisions each day, try not to do things that if you were asked about it later, you'd feel like you don't do stuff that you're uncomfortable relaying. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's minuscule or minor. Hey, what did you do yesterday? And you did something that you're not proud of, and now you have to cover it up. If you just say, like, wait a minute, am I proud of doing what I'm doing right now? Am I comfortable telling other people about it? If I'm proud of it, I'll do it. If I'm not, wait, maybe I should rethink it. And I think if we start approaching our day-to-day decisions like that, this can help us lead those better lives. And ultimately, I'm telling you guys this not because you have a duty and you're a terrible person if you don't do this. Really, this is for yourself. This is going to help you become a stronger person, I think.
Well, and I wonder too if it will help. People are always asking, how can I raise my vibration? How can I get to that place where I feel that I'm meeting the 5th dimensional me or the 7th dimensional me? And I always find that to be a really interesting question, because that higher dimensional you, it's already you. It's already you. You get to experience that fully source you whenever you fall in love with yourself, whenever you own yourself authentically. doing things like that where you're really looking at all your choices and you're owning them and being honest, that'll raise your vibration.
Yeah, I think so too. By the way, you mentioned self-love, falling in love with yourself. That's where the name of my channel comes from. This gem that I wear around my neck, pink tourmaline.
Tell us more.
Mhm.
How did you
This
name your channel?
so this gem, it's interesting. You look at this crystal and it's I don't know exactly what happened to it. It may actually have been longer at first and then it may have broken off. But this is how I bought it. People think it got broken after I bought it, but this is how I bought it. And I was at a crystals. I knew nothing about pink tourmaline, but pink is my favorite color. And I was there and I said, well, how should I pick? I want to wear something around my neck, but there's all these crystals. How do I pick? They're like, just let it pick you. Go to it. And this one called to me. And so I didn't know what it was. I said, this is cool. They said, oh, that's pink tourmaline. It represents self-love. And so I put it on. And the more I've gotten into learning about NDEs, learning about out-of-body experiences, remote viewing, all these different phenomena, trying to understand the nature of reality, I feel like self-love, as you just mentioned, falling in love with yourself, seems to be at the core of everything. Think about even not listening to manipulative forces. That comes down to trusting yourself, loving yourself. Mm-hmm. And so it's just become such an emblem in this entire journey. And even when I was thinking of a name for the channel, I thought, what better? Pink, my favorite color, this gem, which represents possibly the most powerful and the most important thing that you could try to ascertain. And that's what it came down to. And thus the name Pink Tourmaline was born.
I like it. And you have a lot of that color in your auric field too.
I was thinking that, but I don't know. I can't like see that type of stuff, or at least yet, maybe one day.
May I share something from your guides?
Sure.
They're noticing that when you're connecting with the auric field, and so this will probably help a lot of us listening who don't feel like we can see auras yet, but you can intuit them. They said, when you want to see your aura or auras of anyone else or anything else, stare at it. Or you could stare at yourself on a Zoom call or in the mirror, then close your eyes like you're looking at a photo negative and just feel what color you are. Okay. Feel the colors, intuit the colors. They'll just pop in. But then there are times that I am looking at you and I see the white. There's a white outline right around your hairline and your shoulders. And then when I let my eyes go fuzzy, that's when I see the first pink show up. And then there's more colors around that. So there's both ways. And I don't really have me being able to see spirit. That's not my main gift. It's just one that'll show up once in a while if I'm with the right person that matches that vibe. So you're obviously one of those people that I can match with. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I can see auras all the time or anything, but I can see yours, which means you'd be able to see yours too.
Okay.
Practice looking at a neutral colored wall and, put your hand out there and look at it and just let your eyes go funny.
Okay. I will try that. I never tried it really before. I mean, I just kind of tried it right now, but it's probably not the best time to do it. Like on the Zoom call, like that. But I tried it for a second. I can try that again. I'll write that down and give it a shot. I'm going to try it tonight. And when I say this is the same thing, coming back to the idea of discernment and strengthening that discernment. So now I just said to you that I'm going to try it tonight. So I have to try it tonight. Otherwise, now I've just said something that is not true. It's even those little things. You say you're going to call somebody, and nobody's perfect. I'm not blaming people if you fail here, but this is what I've been trying to do a lot lately. Is if I say something, I want to remember that I said it and follow through on that. And that's it. Yeah. Hey, can I tell you something funny, by the way? That daily oracle book that you have on your desk, I have that too upstairs in my house. I got it as a gift a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. It reminds me of when I was a kid and I would say to God or to Jesus, okay, if you're real, I'm just going to open this book and put my finger down and you tell me what you want me to know. And I put my finger down and I really believed they were talking to me, and they probably were actually. But so I like this book because I can just open it up and get a message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Yeah. By the way, for those of you guys who don't know, this book, that's what's cool about it. It's the daily oracle. Every day you just open it to a random page and then you read what the oracle is.
Yeah, so this is Jericho Mandiber is the author of this book. It's so lovely. I think I got this at one of a gift shop, like a Spencer Gifts or something. You can get it in any metaphysical shop too, but it surprised me where I got it. I love shops like that. Okay, so I just want to connect with your energy for a minute. And then I'm also going to say that this message will be for anyone who's watching as well, because Spirit knows how to do that. It's for you and for anyone else, no matter when they watch it. This is the sign you've been waiting for, they said. This is the sign you've been waiting for.
Oh, interesting. But do you think, what do you think? Do you think they mean this podcast or this, oh, that sign?
Yeah, so there's a glyph right here. There's a triangle with a seeing eye in it. Okay. And you can look at this more in your book. I want to show it to everybody up here so you can see it. Something I know about this symbol is that it's a doorway for your third eye.
Okay. Ah, okay.
Yeah, so if you've been waiting for or saying, okay, I'm ready for these gifts to come online, or I'm ready for the queue or something. Hello.
Well,
Wakey.
That actually exactly lines up because I just went to the Monroe Institute, and I worked on.
That's right. Spill it. I want to know everything.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to try and give you a condensed version, but basically, I mean, it was incredible. And it was a unique experience at the Monroe Institute because they filmed the whole thing. They're turning it into a documentary.
Tell people what that's about. Why do you go there for people who don't know?
The Monroe Institute is basically they're pioneers in deep states of meditation, begun by Robert Monroe, who's worked with the military and with the government in terms of astral projection and remote viewing. But basically, they use special sound technologies to get your brain into deeper states of meditation, where we go to like delta, theta waves, all that stuff. And so for a week, we're doing meditation practices, like 4 or 5 different meditation practices a day with these headphones on in our bed units. And then we do the meditations, then we come downstairs and we discuss, and on repeat. It's very intense. We stay off of our technology devices to be fully immersed into that experience. My big objective there, which was a bit more ambitious than I realized, was to have an OBE during that week. I did not have, a lot of other people had them, and then some of us did not. I was one of the people that did not, and I was really disappointed by it. But now I came to realize near the end of the program that it was just way too big of an ambition for somebody like me that hasn't had a long-term deep meditation practice. This is something that takes time, just like martial arts. And so you'll see me on when the documentary comes out, I broke down actually and was sobbing because this is like so important to me in my life right now. I'm trying to learn information and share it with people. And I thought I was going to have it that week. And I was like, oh my God, this will open a doorway. I can be so much more effective at conveying this information. It didn't happen. It was heartbreaking at the time, but that breakdown was actually probably the most important thing that happened to me during that week-long course. And now I've taken away from that, hey, I need to get a deep meditation practice and let's keep going.
Work that muscle.
Exactly.
Wow. Remote viewing is something that I've heard the angels say we can all do.
I believe that too.
And so you had a chance to do something that helped you remember to bring that gift back online.
Yeah. In fact, Joe McMoneagle, who is one of the biggest pioneers in remote viewing, he was there. They brought him in as a surprise for us. It was so, because we all knew who he is, and we're big fans. And so he said that. He's like, well, we can all do this. We just have to practice and work on getting that ability out.
Yeah. And trust yourself that you can do it. Yeah. I've been remote viewed before.
Oh yeah. And you can like sense it.
Well, I saw them. I saw them in my bedroom. Yeah, I saw them because I know how to remote view. And I don't know if that's the reason why I could see them or what, but I was not high. I was not asleep. They were definitely there. And they did not see me. They didn't know that I could see them, which was weird. Maybe that's because I pretended I had my eyes closed, but yeah, remote viewing is fascinating to me. How do you think you're going to use it?
Well, it's more of actually, well, remote viewing is, I guess, part of it. They are related. It's more an out of body experience or an astral projection that I'm seeking to
Yeah.
have. I want to go explore. I want to see the upper realms of the astral. I want to see it with my own eyes and with my own senses. What is this whole
Yes.
matrix that we're in? And I want to see if entities try and I want to see my discernment ability, like all that stuff. I want to see it firsthand
Yeah.
and share it with people.
You know, something that really helped me when I was first traveling out of my body is I practiced yoga nidra.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I've
And
heard of
that,
yoga nidra.
yeah, that really helped me because I have autism and I have ADHD. And so I'll be really busy in my body. So the guide on YouTube helping me put my body to sleep, but mind awake was really nice. There's a lot of guided meditations on YouTube that will start with yoga nidra, and then go to astral projection.
I see.
There's a guide her name is Rosalie,
Mhm.
and she'll do like the rope technique. So you might look for that. I really
Okay.
like her. Yeah. Listen, my
Rosalie.
friend, it has been just a pleasure to have you on. And I really loved being on your show as well. And you're just doing wonderful things. And I hope you'll come back on and talk with us again. I love to pick your brain. So great to have you on here. How can people get a hold of you?
I'd say the best way is come check out my YouTube channel, Pink Tourmaline. Just search Pink Tourmaline on YouTube. You can also follow me on Instagram, Pink Tourmaline Huzefa on Instagram. That's especially if you want to connect with me and send me video ideas or things to check out or review. I do a lot of video walkthroughs and review like NDEs or different interviews and stuff like that. So if you have an idea for me, you can send it to me that way.
Yeah, great.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, brother. It was great to have you on the show. And everyone else, thank you for joining me tonight. And I hope you have the best week whenever you're catching this show. And there's a couple learning opportunities you have with me. Check my website that are coming up soon. And I love you so much. I hope that you remember that you are spirit embodied. You can do this life. You can. I'm with you. And remember, keep that halo straight. See you next time.
Laugh hard, breathe deep, let the light come in. No perfect questions, no polished disguise, just real.